Greetings, everyone. My name's Alyssa. I am your instructor for the next 3.5 weeks. This is just an overview recording here to help us get started with the class. So we are taking a course on Western civilization, which usually runs like 3.5 months, and we're condensing it down to 3.5 weeks. Obviously, that means there's going to be a lot of reading, a lot of work, each and every day, honestly, to get through it all. But that's what you've committed to, and I'm sure that you can do it if you stick with it and you are committed. So let me share with you my screen here, and we can talk about our class. So now you see our classroom here. And by now, I hope you've had a chance to kind of get in here and get started, because if not, boy, I hope you're jumping in, just full-fledged today to get rolling on this. At the top of the screen, you see our welcome content. This just gives you an overview and reminds you that, hey, you're in Western civilization since 1500. So let's think about this for a minute. You are starting your exploration of a historical narrative of a region and a culture at 1500. A lot of history goes down before 1500 CE. And so in our first week here, I ask you to kind of do a review, an overview of that content. And I will be including later today an overview of that content for you to review. This, again, is just an orientation for our class. So as you can see here, I'll be holding office hours from 12:30 to 1:30 on Tuesdays and from 10 to 11 on Wednesdays. And the link to that is right here. It's a Zoom link. You can join me there. If you don't have a camera, that's unfortunate, but I still love to see you in the Zoom meetings there. Also, if you don't have a library card, you need one ASAP. So if you click on this tab here, you can order a library card. You'll also see, if you go into the library, that at the bottom of the screen here, there's a chat. And if there's a chat on this live, that means there's a librarian right here waiting for us. And if you click on there, a little box will come up, you can say hi. I clicked on that chat probably probably 50 times last term with different students to show them how to communicate with librarians. And each and every time a librarian responded within like a minute or two. So you should have no problems getting a hold of your librarians. And you and I, each of you, we're going to have a one-on-one meeting in another week and a half or so. So we'll go through that as well. But for now, just know that if you go into our link here for syllabus, you will find our syllabus for this term. You'll also find the description for the independent research paper that you and I will be meeting to discuss, and also the museum exhibit assignment. And I will be uploading sections today for both of those assignments. It'll be at the bottom of the page, and I will also include an overview for those as well. So at no point should you find yourself without some kind of information to guide you, should find yourself without the ability to assess or access me through email or through our Zoom meetings. I'm also willing to set up FaceTime and phone calls if that works for you. I love the Zoom because the face-to-face really does help us connect. I know that we can all get a little Zoom exhaustion after a while. Believe me, I was teaching 5 classes last term. I totally understand what that looks like. But the classes that I taught last term, I had 2 courses. One that was synchronous, meaning we had 2 meetings a week via Zoom, and the same class I taught without a meeting each week. And I gotta tell you, there's a big difference in the relationship that you have and the connection you have to the class dynamic and to the content when you're able to communicate. So make sure that you're doing that. If we go in here and look at the syllabus now, let's take a look at the syllabus together. I'm gonna pop this open. I'm gonna stop sharing this screen, hey again, and I'm going to share this with you now. So in here, you get an overview of what's expected of you, right? Intercession 2020, actually it's Intercession 2021. Ooh, I'm gonna have to work on that. And believe me, I'm ready to say goodbye to 2020. Now, my office phone here doesn't really work, so I'm not there. So email me, but you'll get a description here of what we're talking about, what we're dealing with this term. This is a social justice framed course. So I'll just tell you that. And what that means is that as we explore these larger themes of Western civilization, we will be framing this course content within a world history perspective. And we'll be looking at the voices and the stories of people who are often the focus of these conversations. For instance, when we start talking about the Reformation and the Counter-Reformation in, I think, 2 modules, and that's where these new European countries begin to push back against the power of the Holy Roman Empire. And part of that is this question of what is the role of religion and what should religion look like in our lives. And usually when we talk about that period of time, we talk about Martin Luther, right? We talk about the church and this struggle between the heads of power and those who usually maintain power. But all of that plays out into the daily lives of the people as well. And so we should really be concerned about what happens to the everyday people, because most of us, fall more in the categories of the majority of us, which aren't the very elite powerful. And so, just as Henry VIII challenges the power of the Roman, church by divorcing his first wife and setting up a new Church of England. While he may have done that in part or wholly to be able to divorce, it now meant that divorce became part of the social fabric. And so the question is, who else can get divorced, right? And so the gender dynamics at that time, the idea of who has autonomy, men and women both, all of that will become part of the dialogue and part of the struggle, because we have now someone in leadership opening up this new avenue for us to access. So we'll look at that, but we'll also challenge the question of, where does power derive from? And even as we say, oh, because this one king wanted this, ability, now it's open to everyone. It's not always that those in power or those who we consider the people who should be able to. It's not always those groups who lead us. And so we have to think about what that means in the larger construct, because Western civilization is the culture in which most of us who are in this class are going to be birthed of and have lived our lives through. And so what happened in these moments does inform who we are today, albeit not fully and wholly. So that being said, a social justice perspective, you'll be seeing readings that kind of challenge us to think beyond just the normative, traditional, privileged narratives. And part of that is the work in this class. So each week, or each module rather, you have a discussion question or prompt that you have to answer. And that's worth 32% of your grade. 32% of your overall grade is based on this module, consistent module work. So make sure that you're, engaging with the readings early so that you can post a response by the second day of our module and also post to your fellow classmates. If you aren't posting on time, then you're impacting other people in the class, because we have a small class and you have a responsibility to post your initial response to the discussion question by Tuesday or by Friday, because we have a Monday through Wednesday module and then a Thursday through Sunday module. Your first response is due the day after the module opens, which means you have to be through the content for the class by that day so that you can fully engage. You also have 2 other postings, 2 other discussion responses. Those are replies that you can make to me or to your fellow classmates. But see, if I'm the only person who posts by Tuesday, right, and you come in, that means you can only respond to me. And if I don't post and I leave you without an opportunity to respond to somebody, I'm now impacting your grade. In other words, everybody, this class is a community, and we have to work together to get to the end, all right? It's an important lesson for us to learn. So that's your discussion forum requirement. 3 postings every module over the course of at least 2 different days. First posting being on the second day of the module. You're gonna have, I think there's 3 reflections in this course. And these are just entries where you have to at least write 600 words. You do not have to reference resources. It's one of the few times that you have a formal assignment where you're not expected to show me where you got your information. That's because a reflection journal, this is where you tell me what you think. You're talking from your voice. Part of what you'll be learning in this class is how to write analytically, using critical thinking analysis, and writing beyond just your subjective perspective, right? So in your formal papers, you have a formal paper in the second module, a comparative, an art comparative. In that paper, you will not use me, you, we, right? It's not about what you think personally. It's about what evidence you have found, right? And what that evidence tells you about a topic or a context. But we'll get to that. This is just the overview. For the journals, which you have one in your first week, I ask you to tell me what you think. So feel very comfortable and free to talk very casually, right? But keep an academic tone, but write casually, you know, and just think. Really, these are about you having a chance to kind of like synthesize the information for yourself. Besides that, you have some assigned papers here, and you have 2 of these, one being the comparative and another one being a paper that comes at the end of the, or later on in the term, or yeah, so don't worry about that right now. You have an individual meeting. I will be opening up the scheduler for that by the end of the day today. So you'll want to set up a meeting time with me. And again, when that module comes up, I'll have an overview that shows you that information. You also have a research paper. Keep in mind, right, that by the weight of the work should be the way that you're thinking about the emphasis. Discussions every week, and then you have a research paper. Our individual meetings will be to discuss your larger independent research paper. These paper assignments I give you, they're designed to help you with your writing before you begin your research paper, because the research paper will be a historical persuasive paper with a topic that you choose. And that can be very daunting for students, because I'm asking you to figure out something from Western culture, Western civilization from 1500 to the day, right? To, well, actually 1980. And find it yourself. Think about what it is that's interesting, and then go out and do your independent research. And that can be a pretty ambitious goal. So that's why we're going to meet, so I can make sure that you have guidance. Again, even though I'm saying you're doing this independently, I am here for you, right? It is quarantine. It is me and my dog Bayou right here, and we will be here for you. So have no fear about that. And then we have a virtual museum exhibit, and I love this. So part of the pursuit of history is public history. And I used to work as a national park, a park ranger in New Orleans. And I did historical walks through the French Quarter, which was awesome and cool. I also worked downriver at the Chalmette battlefield. And this was a historical site that was the site of the last battle, the War of 1812. And this is really an extension of the American Revolution. And this battle, some say, was like the last big battle for the fight of independence for the United States, right? A really cool place to work. There was also other history there. There was a cemetery that was erected around the Civil War. And in that cemetery, there were soldiers that had been laid to rest that had fought from the War of 1812 all the way up to the Vietnam War. And so there's all these histories there. There was also a freedmen's cemetery. So after the Civil War, there was a federal agency called the Freedmen's Bureau that helped to transition newly freed slaves into these new roles of free people. And the Freedmen's Bureau dealt with all parts of life, from creating hospitals where people were born, to creating schools where people learned, to the cemeteries where they were buried. And so this cemetery was just for those who had been, that were freed from slavery. And that was a whole other layer of history, right? Well, my point is that over that couple years I was there, I spent time telling the histories of these different peoples in these different times to the public. And it was an amazing gift because, we go through and we're reading these academic journals, and I'm asking you to write these academic papers based upon independent research in a very formulaic way, right? Which is part of the whole academic adventure. But history is also what we talk to the public about. And learning to do these historical walks through the French Quarter. And maybe, we could do a virtual historical walk together at some point soon. But learning to tell people stories in a blended way is an important trait in history, an important characteristic, an important skill set. So you're going to be doing your own virtual museum exhibit, and do not panic. It is not hard. You already have the skill sets to do it. We'll be working in our wiki, which is in Moodle. I will give you a very specific example from an online source and from a previous student, so you can see what a great example looks like. And I promise you that you'll have fun with it if you actually engage. Okay, so that's the work for our class. There's the expectations here, the due dates are the due dates. And you can't wait to the very end of the class and come back and say, hey, I'm sorry I missed the last 2 weeks. I need to get all that work done. It's not possible. So you have to keep up with it now. So in our syllabus here, I also have a breakdown of each week and what we'll be doing. There's your second journal entry here. And then this is your documents analysis paper. That's week 4. And by the time you get to, or not week 4, module 4. So by the time that you get to this week, right, you'll be prepared to write that research paper. And I get you only have 2 weeks. So I keep the grade or the page limits on these assignments lower. And I want you to stay with those lower ones. Like your first paper is a comparative art paper next week or at the end of this week. And it's supposed to be 5 to 7 pages. And that includes your cover letter or your cover page rather, and your reference page. So really we're talking about 3 to 4 pages of double-spaced content, right? You can do that. Don't send me 10 pages, right? Please stay within those frameworks. It's for you and for me. So this is just a kind of overview I wanted to give you of all of this work. And again, I'll be uploading the recordings for the next 2 modules today in the content. So you'll see that there. So hopefully that helps. Don't save that. I'm gonna go back in here and stop sharing, show you my face again for a minute. Now I want to go back into our classroom and just think about the navigation. So here we have our welcome and you have required readings. I try to be thoughtful about the content that I'm giving you here. Social justice, if I approach history from a social justice perspective, I also approach teaching in the same way. So what that means is I'm trying to give you a inclusive social justice education, and I'm trying to make it as accessible as possible. So we don't have textbooks in this class. Instead, I weave together different types of resources, and we do have something that looks traditional, which is the Lumen readings here, right? But they're briefer than it would be if I was to assign you chapters in a textbook. And that's because I think that what we really want to focus on in our work here is weaving a narrative that affords us an opportunity to think about the past in new ways and to think about our relationship to the past and what that means to us today and tomorrow. What I really want you to get out of this class is stronger persuasive writing, right? Which is the papers, of course. Stronger faith in yourself when it comes to your ability to navigate different contents and different disciplines. But I also want you to get a better sense of your own lenses, the ways in which you operate in the world, right? And how our lenses color the way that we see other people and the ways that we engage with people who are them, right? The us versus them mentality. I mean, everyone, not everyone, see, that's where I'm being too broad. A lot of the conversations I've had recently have been with people coming from different backgrounds who agree that we find ourselves in a divisive moment. And you probably agree with that too. Maybe not, and that is fine. But the narrative of the us versus them, it is helpful in our early organizations as humans and small bands, and also is helpful sometimes when it comes to having a collective voice of a community. But it also can create divisions and break bridges of understanding between ourselves and other people. It can keep us marinating in these, Euro-American centristic perspectives of superiority sometimes, elitism, exceptionalism. You might hear that, the American exceptionalism. We embrace that in some ways, and we're fed that content in our primary education. But here, I want us to think beyond ourselves, because we live in a multicultural world, and it can be divisive, and there are struggles, and there are people that we have legitimate arguments with, right? And we can legitimately say that we don't agree with certain types of behaviors. But for us to say that we don't agree with people just because they are different, or their religion is different, or their system of government is different, if we don't understand the nuances of their experiences, and how are we able to really say we don't like or don't agree? We don't know to disagree. We don't know to agree. And so my hope is that you'll gain skill sets so that you can go out there and learn for yourself from real evidence and fact and reliable information, that you will gain enough self-awareness of your biases, which we all have them. But although we hold them as who we are in certain ways, we still should be able to look past them so that we can be fair-minded in the way that we engage with the world. And that's what I'm hoping you learn. And so what you'll see in these first couple of modules is content that makes us really think about what we've been taught, how we've been taught, and to think about what our biases are. And we'll talk more about that in the module content coming up. But we want to talk about that and think about it so that we can be appreciative of others and also respect ourselves more. So you'll see in this content information about civilizations. You see videos here. It's a lot, but again, it's 3.5 weeks for 3.5 months. So each one of these modules is 2 weeks worth of content put into one. And so I've tried to synthesize it. I've tried to be as succinct and as concise with the content that I've chosen for you, so it's not overwhelming, but it is going to be a lot, and that's okay. We've chosen to be here together. We can do this. You can do this. Believe me, I'm here with you. I have to be in here grading and monitoring the whole time with you. So we are here now together. You have a discussion, as you'll see here. Now, each week, the content will be under a description, right? The content will come first. Then you will see your discussion, any other assignments, and then you might see, as you'll see in Module 2, suggested additional content, right? Oh, and so this really should be there. Wait. There, okay. Anyway, but you'll see suggested content. There we go. That's what it's supposed to be at the bottom. And that's not necessarily something you have to complete, but if some concepts up here were interesting to you, you might want to engage more here. Okay, so again, you'll see more modules opened up by the end of the day, and I'll be going through and adding later a overview of the first module's content and the second module's content, and all throughout I'll be here for you. So I hope that helps you to get oriented to our class. When you go into the discussions here, you will, you know, reply, right? Ooh, ice is coming off the roof here. You'll reply, and then you'll be able to reply to other people as well. So I think that might do it for showing you reflections to, you know, to start your own journal. You do this here, and you can write in here. Keep in mind, very, very important, keep in mind, whenever you are working within an assignment, it is best to write it on a Word document and then paste that information into the entry and then hit submit. And the reason for it is every term, a student will go in and begin to work and then will leave working here and do something else, and it times out. And if you haven't manually saved your work, then whatever you were working on will be lost if in fact the computer times you out. So always work that way. You also have a quick quiz in here. Not hard, there's already one, I previewed it. It really isn't a test of content, it's just making sure that you have read the syllabus and you know the expectations for the class. So that's about all I have for you today, or for right now. And until I see you in a little while, again, Bayou, who's down here behind my coffee, well, you'll get a better picture of next time. We both wish you a great day. Gotta end.